Gunfire echoed through several neighborhoods of Cotonou on Sunday as a group of soldiers launched what the government later described as a deliberate attempt to overthrow President Patrice Talon. By evening, Talon took to state television to confirm what many had feared, calling the events extremely serious and accusing the soldiers of trying to destabilize the nation.
Indeed, a small group of soldiers, under the pretext of false claims, began a mutiny with the aim of attacking the institutions of the Republic and destabilizing our nation.
Talon said a coup would have jeopardized years of progress and placed the country on a dangerous path. He praised the security forces for their swift action and expressed concern for victims.
With them, we stood firm, regained positions until we cleared the last pockets of resistance from the mutineers. This commitment and mobilization have enabled us to defeat these adventurers and avoid the worst for our country. This wrongdoing will not go unpunished. I would also like to spare a thought for the victims of this senseless adventure, as well as for the people still being held.
Nigeria confirmed its intervention in helping thwart the coup attempt after Benin requested air support. The West African bloc, ECOWAS, also responded by deploying troops from several regional countries to help the government preserve constitutional order. A Benin government spokesperson says 14 people have been arrested in connection with the coup attempt. Throughout the day, soldiers blocked routes to the presidency, national television and parts of Cotonou. Many residents, however, voiced their rejection of military takeovers.
We call on the current government to resolve matters amicably and confront the coup leaders in order to avoid war.
We aspire for peace in Benin, to respect the constitutional order, and for the electoral process to be completed.
The current government must be allowed to finish its work. We do not want to go backwards and plunge Benin into chaos.
The incident adds to a growing list of coups and attempted coups in West Africa, though Benin had not seen one in more than 50 years. As the country prepares for parliamentary and local elections in January and a presidential vote in April, the failed mutiny adds new tension to an already sensitive political moment. Joy Kirukijuma, CGTN.
Well, let's bring in Dr. Oluwole Ojewale, Senior Researcher, Institute for Security Studies. He's joining us live via Zoom from Dakar. Dr. Ojewale, thank you for joining us on the program. Now, ECOWAS has intervened to help Benin keep order during these attempted coup. What's your take on this intervention and the impact it is likely to have?
It is the best option that was on the table for ECOWAS. And as a citizen of West Africa, I'm glad that they were able to successfully carry out or execute that operation. The overarching objective is to establish deterrence. So if there are a group of soldiers located somewhere in any of the countries, member state of ECOWAS, who possibly want to also execute such idea, at least they will know now that ECOWAS has evolved in the last 2 or 3 years. Consider the events in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, in which they have hesitated to actually take such decisive step. Now they will know that ECOWAS is not just a dog that can bark, but it can actually bite as well.
Right, so this action is much faster than we have seen before in other parts of West Africa that have had coups or attempted coups. Why is this the case, though?
The case for the Benin coup was one too many. One, because we just had what former president of Nigeria described as ceremonial coup by Embalo Sise in Guinea-Bissau. And now, less than 2 weeks after we're having the Benin, it means things to look like a house of cards that it's going to have a domino effect if they allow this to happen in Benin. Secondly, and much more consequential, is the fact that Nigeria cannot afford to be encircled by hostile governments. You know, Nigeria shares significant border with Niger. Security cooperation has broken down in that region. If the attempted coup in Benin was allowed to stand, then Nigeria might find itself in a very precarious situation that has serious contagious effects, both for security and political stability of the country. And that is why, as a regional hegemon, Nigeria stepped in by mobilizing instrument of national power, including air capability, to help to quickly restrain those mutiniers in Benin.
And do you think this is likely to be the norm for ECOWAS going forward? And how could this change the way ECOWAS operates as a bloc?
What this is going to do is to establish deterrence. Now they know that if any group of soldiers attempt to stage a coup within the sub-region, ECOWAS is not just going to be issuing press releases that we have seen in the past. ECOWAS is ready to mobilize a standby force. So rather than being a norm, I think it's going to establish deterrence.
Tell us a little bit more about that attempted coup in Benin, though. What do you think triggered the coup at a time when the incumbent is preparing to leave office after next year's elections? You know, have there been issues running up to this?
It could be as a result of many factors, but I would say a contagion effect, really. It has happened in neighboring countries like Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And I think this recent development is just a function of some military officers who want to embark on that misadventure, trying their luck. The second factor is the fact that in the recent time, we also have to identify and highlight the role of constitutional coup that has been happening, in which you saw what happened in Togo, in the recent time, even in Benin, the civic space, the democratic space have become strong as a result of the high-handedness of incumbents in some of these countries. And what opposition party politicians do in such atmosphere is that they reach out to military collaborators and try to execute this agenda, in which if they cannot gain access, if they cannot capture state power through the ballot, then they go through the barrel of gun. So I think that is also a possibility in the light of what has just happened in Benin. And the fact that there's a crisis of legitimacy all over the places in the region, and it's an opportunity for politicians to seek collaborators within the military to stage a coup. So those are some of the factors: contagion effect, and then the high-handedness with which incumbent government have handled and managed opposition in the recent time could be explanatory variables.